But right now, please welcome back to the show the Chief Scientific Officer from the Wellness Company, our friend Dr. Peter McCullough. Dr. McCullough, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you.
Well, I got to start with some of the news of the day, and that is over at the CDC. And there's a lot of resignations going on today, and including the director. And I was reading one of the people who works there put their resignation letter on, and one of the paragraphs says, "I'm unable to serve in this environment that treats CDC as a tool to generate policies and materials that do not reflect scientific reality and are designed to hurt rather than to improve the public's health." And I go back to 2020, 21, 22, and think about what happened in this country. And I'm thinking maybe this person wasn't there, but what are you talking about? Do not reflect scientific reality. Nothing reflected reality back then. What do you think about what's going on today?
Yeah, I think a lot of this is this philosophical divide, and many have tendered their resignations. Now, the acting director and the full director for a few months was Susan Monarez. I had a chance to meet her. She seemed reasonable. She was pretty quiet. She didn't, make any strong statements one way or the other. But I think now there's just a philosophical house cleaning, and a new group will come in and I think give a much better fair balance, certainly to the issue of vaccine safety. And, my big problem with the CDC currently is they, need to have a fire lit underneath them about the autism epidemic. They're doing nothing to investigate this.
RFK Jr. at the cabinet meeting yesterday, I think it was yesterday, they were on for about 4 hours, said that he thought he may have some news on that come September, October. Does that seem unbelievably fast to have any kind of, I don't know what he's talking about coming out with, but what I don't know if you heard him say that, but what would be your guess on what he would know this quickly about it?
Well, the CDC has an autism network, a 16-center network. There have been a lot of analyses, from other studies around the country. And I think what's going to happen is the settlement here, or the distilling of the information, will conclude that excessive vaccination given in big combinations is probably a risk factor for autism, like premature delivery and older parents. And that's going to now immediately begin an evaluation of the childhood vaccine schedule.
Yeah. President Trump, I think in the cabinet meeting also talked about stockpiling critical prescription drugs. He talked about the shortage. He talked about why we need to be on top of it, what obviously an emergency it is. Is this something every American should be doing as well?
I think they should to some degree. Anybody who, high blood pressure, diabetes, other problems, there's a way to do it. The Wellness Company, we have our own pharmacy, so patients can get memberships, the middle and higher level, get free prescription drugs. I do that myself. So it's a great way to stock up. You can get 3 months at a time. And then through our emergency medical kits, getting the critical antibiotics, antivirals, corticosteroids, other drugs there. I think it's a reasonable idea. We need to bring generic pharmaceutical manufacturing back to the United States. It's a national security issue. And I think Trump's made some good steps in that direction.
If you spend enough time online, you see a lot of things, and some of them are from people with their title says doctor, and it's about you got to do this cleanse or that cleanse, and then you got to do this, and they step you through these threads. You read these threads are like 9-10 threads long. But when people think about things like we've talked about in this show, like ivermectin or anti-parasitic drugs, or thinking about their bodies, who should be thinking about doing some kind of anti-parasitic cleanse? Is there a certain age group that should be looking at that, or is it everybody? Who should be really worried about something like that?
I honestly think it's risk-based. Frequent travelers, Mexico, Central America, Asia, Africa, sushi eaters is another one. You guys could be sushi eaters. We eat a lot of, and it always says on the menu, be wary of ingesting raw or undercooked meat or fish. And now, the first cases of human screwworm have been described in the United States. And that's where there's a wound down in the legs or in the back, and you can't tend to it. And then one of these flies lays the eggs, and then these worms that are pretty big begin to eat the flesh. and they have to be surgically removed. Early on, it can be killed by ivermectin. But there's enough out there that I think everybody ought to consider getting one of the parasite cleanse kits from the wellness company. It's actually just a dispensed canister. It's a good idea to have this on hand.
You can go to twc.health/voice, twc.health/voice. We're talking with Dr. Peter McCullough, of course, who's the Chief Scientific Officer at the Wellness Company. And finally, let me ask you, Dr. McCullough, I saw a headline, I think it was out of Australia, and it was one of these where they just couldn't figure out why they were seeing all these cancers. You see this word turbo cancer, and the headline was like, what's going on in Australia? Young men, all of these, in the last 5 years, all of a sudden we're seeing all this turbo cancer. So the term turbo cancer, is that a proper term to be using? And is this something related to, obviously, the vaccines that we've seen distributed in the last 5 years in this country and across the world?
It's an appropriate term when we see a cancer that's far more rapidly developing and more aggressive. The histology appears, the cells appear to be very aggressive. A good example would be Deion Sanders. He had turbo cancer of the bladder. Remember, he was heavily vaccinated, had vaccine blood clots, and now a vaccine turbo cancer. I saw a patient today with vaccine turbo cancer of the uterus. Thankfully, the uterus was removed quickly and it didn't spread. I mean, now's the time to be vigilant. We don't know if it's the infection or the vaccines or both. I can tell you there are some studies now that are finding the vaccine and the spike protein from the vaccine right in the cancer. It's right at the scene of the crime.
Wow. We're speaking with Dr. Peter McCullough. Again, you can go to twc.health/voice, twc.health/voice. Use promo code VOICE at checkout. Dr. McCullough, always appreciate you giving us a few moments of your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.